Hi, I'm Kevin, and this is Novel to You, where I read 25-minute excerpts from my novels. I'm reading Taemane, which means diamond in Bantu, and this is part 3. I'm starting on chapter 4. Here we go. I hope you enjoy the read. 3 years later, 1957. Nick chewed the lump of bitter, salty biltong. The dried meat, biltong, was a bit like him, hard and coarse-hewn. He waited for a response from the teenager shaking in front of him. The teenager's eyes darted and flitted from one area to the next. Panic did that. The scrawny, knobby-kneed boy was weighing his options, though in Nick's mind, those options were pretty thin on the ground. Nick shaved another piece of the cured meat with his hunting knife and chewed. He was bored with the situation, and the little shit in front of him in his bleached shorts and stained, riddled t-shirt was fast running out of time. Nerves caused the 16-year-old to change from foot to foot as he looked at the two blacks behind Nick for some help. Their eyes held no support for him. The teenager returned his jittery gaze to Nick, who leaned his foot on the bumper of his Land Rover. The teenager heard the mashing of meat and teeth as Nick's arrogance and violence brewed with each gnash of his jaws. There was just the four of them on the road. No one for miles of empty bush. It could end for the teenager right here at 16. Nick's white hand flicked for the boy to leave. You've learned your lesson, Tolo, huh? The boy nodded, eager to escape. You little shit. You make me sick. Piss off, Tolo. I see you again. It'll be bad for you. A smile broke across Tolo's face. He turned and made his way quickly down the road. He glanced back, hoping he wouldn't be shot. He picked up his pace. Tolo had made it. He had gotten away from those greedy bastards. Confidence filled his lungs. He was 200 yards from the truck when he turned for a second look. At that moment, Tolo saw a vision he had never imagined. Beside the biltong chewing white man Nick was an evil-looking beast. The blond man held the beast by the throat. He could just see the smile on Nick's face as his hand released and the lathered jaws of Nick's Doberman shot forward toward Tolo. The spring, like the boy, whipped up to a fantastic speed in seconds. Dust flicked from his feet. Tolo's eyes bulged and ripped in fear. He too jumped and pumped his legs, terror rushing through them like a fire. The Doberman gained fast, and within another 20 yards, he was tight on the boy. The teenager glanced back. The bloodthirsty dog's eyes eagerly bore down on him. With each forward thrust from the sprinting animal's head, his jaws seemed to smile warmly at the boy, waiting to taste his flesh. Tolo panicked and veered into the long elephant grass, hoping to lose the beast. The boy half crouched as he scrambled through the 4-foot-high grass. The tawny sea of grass shook with the same senseless panic that rifled through Tolo's legs as he fled from the bloodthirsty animal. An amused sneer washed Nick's face as the Doberman jumped high from the road edge, clearing the top of the grass, easily sighting his prey. The vicious killing machine disappeared into the grass for an attack. The young boy screamed and battled, trying to beat the killer off him. Nick glanced at his two companions. They stared expressionless at the frantic rustling in the grass. The snarls of the Doberman seemed to cackle back over the boy's screams. Screams and snarls punctured the air in a macabre rhythm. Snarl, scream, snarl, scream. After only half a minute, Nick called the brute off. Duke! Here, boy! Duke! The grass fell silent. The Doberman popped out onto the road obediently and loped casually back to the truck. Duke was panting. Pink froth lapped his jaws. His vicious eyes glowed with the thrill of the attack. Tolo's cautious black head bobbed out above the brim of the grass curtain. Even from 200 yards away, the fear swelled out of the terrified boy. The quivering teenage eyes watched the Doberman as it loped relaxedly back towards its master. The teenager limped from the grass, which was never a safe place to be, even at the best of times. Reaching the road edge, he struggled away as tenderly as his injuries allowed. Blood trickled from the gruesome tear in his right shoulder, and his scarlet left hand was punctured repeatedly. It ran red. The bloody hand was held tight against the tear in his hamstring, hoping somehow to stem the pain. He moved with a valiant swinging limp. Adrenaline-fueled desperation dulled the pain, allowing him to jog-hop away. "That'll do, the slimy little bastard," he ruffled Duke's pointed ears. "Make 'em think twice about keeping anything else up their arse, eh?" Nick laughed at his own joke, but saw that his two cohorts were more concerned with the arrival of Duke. A bloody froth hung from his muzzle, and a glistening red smear shone down, wet and steaming, one side of the beast's neck. The possibility of the mindless beast repeating the performance was too immediate for them to find any hint of humor. Fear and distrust spilled from their eyes as their eyes darted from the dog to Nick and back. He smiled at their tension. He had always found fear in others to be amusing. At 28, the blond, wiry Nick was brazen and cocksure. Having spent the past 12 years living off bush crime from poaching, stealing, and pillage, there was little that Nick feared. He was a law unto himself and took what he wanted, how he wanted. But his ruddy skin and wolf-like features had focused on a new quest that would see him rich in no time. He knew the best way to keep his men in line, like anyone, including Duke, was a combination of tease and terror. Nick liked to keep them hopeful and scared shitless. He looked at the two taller men. They were much taller than the 5'9" Nick, but they quivered at his coldness. They saw him as a man with no conscience. Nick believed as long as they were afraid, then they belonged to him. Being poor mine workers, their sweat-stained shirts and dust-covered legs revealed the depth of the fear-driven dependence they had on Nick. A single step forward from Duke, and the men shuffled back in response. Nick sneered at their fear and toyed with the medallion around his neck. The good luck charm was like an old Wild West sheriff's badge with the bottom third broken away. Nick, with his sweat-ringed hat and tanned face encrusted with gold and stubble, presented an oddity in the bush. He was a scavenger with hungry, hyena-like eyes. Nature has a balance in the bush, harsh but real. Nick stood outside it, a predator only. His eyes shifted constantly, as if there were no base, as if they must always calculate and prepare for an attack. A coiled adder. The scuffed leather strap of his shoulder holster creased his khaki shirt. The taller of the two black mine laborers, standing closer to Nick, shifted uneasily and turned his head slightly to view the vicious little man. The movement was necessary, as he only had one functioning eye. The glass replacement in the left socket was a crude, misshapen affair, a mad marble which was oversized and rolled in its socket manically in any direction that it pleased. The tall black man, obviously called One Eye, tried to smile at the four-legged, panting fiend staring bloody and eager at him. Nick pointed down the road at as the dog's lunch hobbled away. He smiled back at One Eye. "No more assholes like Tolo. I don't care how they get them here, in their eyelids, up their arses, or stuffed under their fingernails. You just get them to me. One Eye, you keep me supplied so my ass won't get burnt, and I won't have to feed your balls to good old Duke here." He slapped the side of the panting beast. "You don't want to chew his sack off, do you, Dookie?" Duke shifted his front paws and licked at his blood-frothed muzzle, eager to leap at One Eye. Nick snapped his fingers and tapped the side of the truck. Duke tore around the men and jumped into the back of the dusty white Jeep. He placed his front paws on the side of the truck, under the rolled-up roof tarpaulin, and leaned through the support bars. The close-set, evil brown and black eyes panted, now eye to eye with the two scruffy miners. The dog unconsciously glanced at One Eye's neck. The two men backed away a step. Nick ruffled the dog's ears, and it licked his face. A ripple of pink foam stuck to Nick's cheek. "Nah, I didn't think so. Duke's got gourmet tastes, don't you, Duke?" Nick climbed in behind the wheel and started the engine. The two men glanced from Nick to Duke and back again. They did not want to take their eyes off the dog. Their eyes and fears kept time with the dog's panting. Nick cast a smile at the two men. "You two just keep me in jewels, and your old bag will have your jewels to play with, yeah? I'll see you in 3 weeks, and we'll have a lot to celebrate." He held his hand out to shake. One Eye reluctantly slapped his palm onto Nick's in a stinging, forceful handshake. It was the African way, smacking clear any vestiges of misunderstanding and renewing a tight bond. The handshake reinforced the braid of necessary trust and mutual distrust that anchored their business relationship. Nick pulled away. He glanced in the rearview mirror and saw the two men standing in the middle of the dirt road, watching the dust settle as he bounced off down the rutted dirt track. It amused him to see the two men scared shitless. He reached for another strip of biltong. He would show them a little kindness next time. They were scared enough for now. The dozen small diamonds secured in the leather pouch in his shirt pocket swelled his arrogance. He'd fence them, and he'd be set for a tidy bit. The two men watched the dust settle, bringing a distilled silence to their fear. The second man found the courage to speak. "I'd like to cut his white balls off and feed it to that beast." One Eye laughed at the thought. "Yeah, that bloody beast would probably eat them too. It would eat anything. That stupid bastard Tolo shouldn't have tried to steal. Now he's going to be sick as shit, even if he finds someone to patch him up. He must have been scared shitless." "Oh, yeah, but the dog didn't get his throat, so he did pretty good." Nick and that dog, they're beyond evil. One Eye slapped his partner's shoulder. "But he gets the best prices for our diamonds. Always pays, no questions asked. He has balls, that man. Nothing scares him." The other miner was not happy, and One Eye wanted to keep him in their fold. "You wait. Oh, Nick, he's a hyena. He'll come up with more for us. Oh, yeah." The other miner was not impressed with One Eye's devotion. He knew One Eye had been as scared as he was. "Come on, let's get drunk and then get laid. We're loaded for the next few weeks. Give that little dick of yours a workout." One Eye slapped his reluctant colleague on the back, and they set off the few miles toward a nearby township. Well, that's the end of number 3, reading number 3. Thanks for joining me. I hope you enjoyed it. It's Taemane. It's available on Amazon. But listen to me for free. Thanks. See you soon.